Hello, fellow Voyagers. Jess here with Odyssey Human, here today to talk about what robots can teach us about learning to fall well. Welcome to the channel. This is the place where I help you hack through the jungles of consciousness so that you can discover the hidden treasures inside of you. My friends, it is all there for you, ready to be activated. So thanks for joining us. If that sounds good to you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you on the channel. And today's topic is a little bit different. I don't normally talk about technology on this channel, but I saw this article in TechCrunch. I will link it below. It was absolutely heartwarming. The article is all about robots falling down because these bipedal robots were doing all these tasks and they fall. They inevitably fall. And so the whole thing is about teaching robots how to fall well. And it was just, there's a video at the bottom of the article. I highly recommend you go check it out. It is a 20-second Twitter clip of the robots falling down, put to music. It's heartwarming. It reminds us that we too need to learn how to fall well in life, because either we become more fragile, right, by trying to micromanage our 3D, by trying to really get into the physical reality and control it so that we don't get hurt, that we don't hurt ourselves. Or we can develop anti-fragility by learning how to fall well, embracing what we would call as failure, because really these are our own perspectives. If something is a failure or not a failure, these are our own perspectives. We're going to talk more about this. And so what can we learn from robots about our own consciousness, about our own mental habits? That's what I want to talk about today. There were a couple of there were many great quotes in this article. I want to read them to you right now. If you can go through that cycle of pushing your robot to failure, studying that failure and fixing it, you can make progress to where it's not falling, i.e. the robot. And then they go on to say, we celebrate falls, even falls that break the robot. It's information. Falling is information. When we get knocked down by life, or we perceive ourselves as failing or falling or facing adversity or facing a challenge or moving through something really difficult, if we juice that situation and really extract the marrow from it, extract the value from it, then it will serve us. It always serves us, right? Because I think a lot of us are afraid to fail. We're afraid to fail, right? We're afraid to really fall down and do it, very ungracefully and in a messy way and publicly, right? We don't want people to see us fall down and fail or struggle, but this is where the best and the most rich information in our life comes from. And there was something really heartwarming about the article talking about robots that I could see how it totally relates to being human as well. And I know you know this. This is just a reminder of what you already know, because it's even harder to live it, I think. And we all need a reminder, myself included, of these realities, these truths that really, make us better humans, really enhance our life. And so in the article, there were also 4 rules. Apparently Harvard came up with the list of the 4 rules for falling without injury. Didn't even know they had a list like this, that we do instinctively or intuitively when we fall down physically. When we fall down, there are 4 things we tend to do so that we don't hurt ourselves. And I want to extend these to our mentalities, our mindsets. How do we use these 4 rules and translate them to what we're doing in our mind to protect ourselves, to build resilience, and to become more anti-fragile, right? To build ourselves into stronger, more resilient human beings from what these robots were doing. So the first rule was protect your head. Protect your head. When you fall down on the ground, we tend to instinctively protect our head as humans. And how does this translate to our mindset? How does this translate to reality creation? Protect your head. Know that whatever you're experiencing is just a perspective in the now. It's just a now moment perspective. And how we protect our head from something that happens, we perceive as happening to us, right? But really nothing is happening to us. We are generating our subjective reality constantly. And we're going to get to that in a moment. But how do we protect our head? We protect it by saying, this may be with our stories. This is what's happening to me right now. This is what I'm experiencing right now. And it's hard and it's crappy and I'm going through it. But you know what? It's not going to define me for the rest of my life. It's where we forget that. It's where we forget that this is just a moment in time. It's just a perspective. It's just an experience. And it's not going to define us in a week from now, in a month from now, in a year from now, in 10 years from now, unless we allow it to, unless we hang on to it and keep creating a story of like, this really messed me up. I'm not the same now. I'm never going to be the same. And then live that out. You see what I'm saying? How we can bring this present moment resilience of like, yeah, I'm going through this and it's hard, but not then carrying it indefinitely into the future with us. I'm sure you know people who have done this. This is the difference between, think about like a motivational speaker who's lost both of their legs and they took that experience and they turned it into something good. Like they knew that that wasn't going to define them. And versus someone who loses both of their legs and then, continues this perpetuation of the sadness and the mourning from that, right? They never really move on from that moment and put themselves on a timeline where they perpetuate it, and it does affect them the rest of their life because they have chosen that perspective. So protect your head. First rule, know that this is just right now moment, and you don't have to let it define you for the rest of your life unless you decide to be that character and play that out. Number 2, use your weight to direct your fall. Use your weight to direct your fall. So when we fall, we will, if we want to fall safely, we can kind of leverage our weight, right? So how do we do this with our mind, with reality creation, with moving through adversity? What matters to you? What matters to you? What matters to you? Like, to me, how we translate this into our mindset is use your weight. Remember what matters to you. Often our perceived failures are we're putting something on a pedestal. We're giving it too much importance. We're telling a story of if this crumbles, if this fails, I'm ruined, or right? We tend to blow up what's actually happening to us, again, with our storytelling, and forget what really matters to us. What are our values? Like, what really matters to us? Does it really matter that friend decided to stop talking to us? Like, yes, it hurts, but does that mean we're never going to make friends again with anyone else in our life? No. We tend to put people, situations, events, circumstances, businesses, partnerships, we put all these on pedestals and we think we're never going to feel that way again, or we're never going to form relationships like that again. And that is not true unless we make it true. So use your weight as you're falling. Remember what matters most to you and leverage that as you're going through this challenge or adversity, leverage it. Remember what matters. Get back to what matters. Get that clarity of, what really matters to me, my peace of mind. Or what matters to me is taking care of my health. Or what matters to me is, self-care. Or really tap into your values. Or being honest. I'm going to be honest in this situation because that's most important to me. Even if I'm falling. I'm going to leverage my values to kind of shift my weight and not hurt myself as much, right? Because when we make these things very important and we feel like they're failing, then that's where we become fragile, right? We're putting them on the pedestal. Take them off. Use your weight. What matters to you? What is important to you? What carries weight for you? Shift it, leverage it, and you'll fall differently. Just like in physical reality. When you fall in 3D, you leverage your weight so you don't hurt yourself as much. The third rule from Harvard of falling without injury is bending your knees. Bend your knees. So what does that mean for our mindset? It means be flexible. Stay flexible. Stay flexible. Bend your knees, right? Your knees are important. They're joints, they're movement. Stay flexible as you're falling. When I was an EMT, one of the really interesting phenomenon that we saw is that during car accidents, people who were intoxicated didn't get hurt. They tended to walk away. Drunk people who got into car accidents tended to walk away from these horrific car accidents totally unscathed. It was really crazy. And then the people who weren't intoxicated and went through kind of the same accident, the same level of car accident, were really severely injured. This was just a trend. This is actually a trend. And why is that? It's because when you're intoxicated, you're just kind of like flowy and flexible and loosey-goosey. Like your body is not resisting as much, right? There's nothing to break when you're like Jello. And it's the resisting, it's the bracing for impact, it's the rigidity that makes us fragile. And so that lesson of like, that's what I thought of when I heard bend your knees, stay flexible. Stay flexible in how are you framing this situation, right? You can reframe this. You can be like, again, this comes back to, protecting your head, but staying flexible and how you're framing this. This whole situation may work out for you. It may not be a failure at all. It may not be a failure. It may be, something that really turns out well for you, even though right now you may perceive like, oh, this is not going well. Things may work out. You never know. You really never know. And so staying flexible and open to outcomes, staying flexible, you're only going to break your perspective, the reality, if you're really holding on to it tightly. If you stay open to the possibilities of, I'm open to this, to being able to recover quickly. I'm open to being able to restore whatever I perceive as lost. I'm being open to, learning from this and coming back stronger. Like when we stay open and flexible to the interpretation of the situation, to what comes next, to the outcomes, then we have a better chance of creating them for ourselves. Right? It's when we're really rigid and we're holding on to this and this is exactly how it was supposed to play out, but now it's failing and it's not working. That's when we break. That's when we break. Be flexible. Be rigid. Think about, unfortunately, not a great analogy, but drunk drivers. Think about how their body just moves. They're not resisting the impact. They're not resisting the impact. Be flexible. Protect your knees. Or bend your knees, excuse me. And the last rule for falling without injury, just some good old wisdom on how to be resilient. Avoid taking other people with you. I thought this was a really interesting one. Avoid taking other people with you when you fall. Ultimately, I don't feel like I think even when you want to support someone, it's hard to fall with someone. But ultimately, our challenges, our adversities, our failures, when we fall in life, these are self-constructed realities. We really have to acknowledge that we are alone in this. There's something very sacred about that and something very, I used to think of it as, wow, it's just me in here. It's just me in my subjective reality, really. How lonely is that? But really, there is a sacredness in that because we're setting ourselves up for lessons and we're also setting ourselves up to learn. We're the ones creating the challenges, the adversity, through the stories we tell, the attention we're giving, and we're also the ones setting ourselves up to learn and grow and overcome and be stronger. We're creating our own problems and then solving them because that this is what reality creation and manifesting is all about, is acknowledging that we don't perceive reality. We create a subjective reality. we live it out, we play the character. And so it's just us in here. It's just you. It's just me. And we don't really get to take anyone else with us, right? We we do this. This is for our own growth and experience and expansion. This is how we expand the greater whole, is by doing this, by experiencing it. So those are the four rules for falling without injury from Harvard. Protect your head, use your weight to direct your fall, bend your knees, and avoid taking other people with you. You can't really take anybody else with you because this is part of your journey. And that's the beautiful and the horrific thing, is that we do it to ourselves, but we can also self-rescue. So I hope this was helpful. I know it was helpful to you today. Check out that silly robot falling video in the link in the description box. And if you do need a tool to help you in this arena, to help you with emotional mastery, with creating more peace of mind for yourself, my free tools in the description box, as always. I would love to hear your comments as well. Drop them below. I'm happy to engage with you. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.